make a video, but at the same time, I got to change my thing. I got to change my infusion set. So, and this thing is beeping because the reservoir is low. Yes, people have seen me do this before, so I got to do this at the same time and make this video. But I made a video before. I think it was a kind of, it wasn't, you know, I wasn't really, I was just kind of talking out an idea, and it was, you know. But I was just thinking about who gets paid the most money in society in general. You know, yeah, there's some exceptions, but generally it's people who people perceive as interesting. You know, they're not necessarily people who are contributing anything. I know this has probably been talked about before, but it's just an ideal. It's like the most interesting people, or what people think are interesting. You know, it's like movie stars and athletes. I used to always think about how ridiculous it is that athletes will get paid so much money. And I remember talking to someone, actually it was my sister, she was saying, well, they deserve it because they get, you know, they can get injured and their careers could end. Yeah, but what about a person working in a coal mine? You know, somebody who's working in a coal mine, providing coal. You know, I mean, they can get injured too. People can get injured working in any kind of job. Yeah, athletes have a short career, but they make a lot of money. Not all of them. Well, nowadays, even the lowest paid athletes make a lot compared to what it used to be. You know, I'm not going to get into the whole thing about, you know, athletes and how much they get paid, how much they used to get paid. A long time ago, they didn't get paid a lot. I mean, you'd have to go back a long time ago. There were at times when athletes actually had to get a regular job during the off season. But now, I mean, I don't know what the minimum is, but it's a lot more than what us regular folks get. And that's the nature of that game. But still, in proportion to what they do and how much of a real contribution they make to society, you don't get paid according to what the contributions you make. You really don't. That's just a fact of life. You really don't have to always check this thing to make sure there are no bubbles. This is not an infusion set video change. I'm just doing this. For those of you who don't know, people who just subscribe, yes, I'm diabetic. I have to use insulin. I have my insulin pump, so it's not a secret. I have my thing. But the thing is that, so I'm going to do this at the same time because I have to get ready to go to work too. Go out in that bitter cold. And yes, I do live in Chicago. Somebody asked me if I lived in Chicago. Yes, I live in Chicago. And yes, it is. It was cold. It actually is getting a little bit warmer. I think it's above 0 today. It's actually rather warm. It's like it might even get up to close to 20. Who knows? That could happen. And that would be exciting and fun. But the thing is that, you know, sometimes I want to respond to some of the people. Now I'm going to be more into responding. You know, trying to make, maybe not a lot of stuff because time is limited, but still I'm going to try as much as I can. But this is just a general talk about things. I was just thinking about something. And one thought that kept occurring to me over and over again is this thought about that we believe things that there's some things which are simply easier to believe than other things. You know. But that changes as our understanding changes. You know, it was easier a long time ago for people to believe that, let's say, that the earth was, yeah, I gotta get something else. It was easy for people to believe the earth was flat a long time ago. That was an easy thing to believe. It would have been hard to believe the earth is round, but now it's the opposite. It would be very difficult for us to change us and get us to think that the earth is flat. That would be an extremely difficult thing for us to believe for the average person. So what's easy and what's hard isn't so much a fixed thing in the world, like it's just locked in, and this is easy and this is hard. No, this is easy today to believe. But if new discoveries come up, it'll be hard to believe that same thing. When new information comes in, what's easy to believe changes. And I always think about that when I'm learning things, as I'm, you know, the same thing is case with religion. When I get the as I'm reading the Bible, some things are just harder and harder to accept. You know, you can't take things in the Bible literal. And I know that there are people, every so often I actually get these little messages from people who insist that this is literal and you must take it that way. And it must be. And I'm just thinking, one, either you've never read the Bible, or two, I don't know what. I don't know what for number two. I can't even come up with that one. But science makes it harder to believe certain things. It makes it harder to accept things. You either have to reject science or modify it or understand that a lot of things are just symbolic, or maybe some things are just, you have to rethink it. You have to kind of reconcile things in some way. I'm not going to really get into all that. I got to do this. That's the thing. I have to stop and concentrate because I got to look at that little drop. This is almost like a little infusion set video. There's a little drop. You can barely see it when it comes out. A little drop of insulin. Oh, shit. That's this problem. Now I got to go back. And I'm going to continue to do this because I have to. This thing says no delivery right there. What does that mean? That means that the insulin is not flowing through the tube. I didn't mean to get into this, but I guess it just became part of what I had to do. When that happens, for those of you who are diabetic and you have an insulin pump, you have to stop and then go back. And then what I found in the past, I used to just throw the whole thing away because I thought, and then redo it again. That's wasting insulin. Sometimes I found a little trick. You have to sometimes take that little cap off and then just put it back on again. And then sometimes that alone will fix it. But if it doesn't, then you just take this tube off. You don't throw the little reservoir off. Because the problem is probably with the tube. I had to stop for a moment and do this. Yeah, let it rewind. Now, the thing is that some things are easy to believe and some things are hard to believe. But that's it's a conditional. It depends on what it is that you understand about things. If somebody said that, let's say 200 years ago would have been what, 1814. If you said one day someone's going to build a building that has like 120 floors, you might say that could never happen. There's no building more than 4 stories high right now. Now there's a building somewhere in the world that has 140 floors or something, And there's talk about building one that will have 200 floors. We have one here that's 110 stories tall. Those, what would have been easy to believe at one time, or what's hard to believe at one time, becomes easy as we see things, as we witness things, as we become witnesses to certain things. We see what actually happens. I'm actually not going to continue on with this topic. I mean, I can go further with it, but right now I got to stop but let me finish with this, since I got onto this, and time is running out, because I got to get ready to go. Hopefully, I just want to, the world is waiting to see, did Philip actually solve the problem? Will the insulin flow? We will find out in a minute. So we're going to take a look at that. I don't know why this just became